Do, 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 do. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to say a little prayer to the streaming gods here real quick. I've got a completely different setup, and I am hoping we're coming through loud and clear. Give me a high sign in the chat if you're seeing, if you're hearing. Good to see you, Dom, Vishal, the usual crew, Bob Carnes. Hope you guys all had a fantastic Wednesday, hump day, closing out the week. Try to get a little higher energy here. We're going to talk about the JobOx tonight. I'm excited for this. Here we go. Yep, fashionably late. Hi, Liz. How are you? Mihao, good to see you, my friend. Fix'em dude. Yes. I'm glad you guys are all here. I tried to gain down. You know how I like to talk loud, so I hope I'm not just blasting you guys if you're wearing headphones and whatnot. So yes, again, praying to the stream gods here that everything holds. I actually got some interesting setups so I can try to cover a bunch of different angles, talk about a bunch of different things, talk about a bunch of things I've printed. Agenda for tonight is really just to do a little Q&A, kind of a little show and tell first. This is kind of a new novel concept. I mean, we've seen it before. Tom Sandlander had a version of something like this that he did. This was sent to me by a company called Urbanmaker out of Germany a couple months ago now, and it's only recently that I've been able to get it out of the box, get it assembled, put it together, run it through its courses. I've been playing with it for about a week and a half, I want to say. Still thinking about how might fit into the farm application for what we do, but I definitely see a lot of potential, and it's an incredibly clever design. It's totally passive, which means that it doesn't require any electronics, any additional motors, anything like that. It just uses the existing setup that the Prusa Mark III has for right now. No firmware updates required, and we'll get into the software piece of it as well. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, good. Well, based on nobody yelling at me in the chat, I'm going to assume everything's working the way it should. Always, I just decided last minute to throw up a bunch of new stuff, and it's always nerve-wracking when you try to do a new streaming setup without having previously tested. So don't jinx it. Everybody quiet. All right, so we'll just really quick test a couple of the views here, and you guys can give me the thumbs up if everything's good. Scene, this is the main scene, so obviously you can see me, you can see the JobOx, you can see my CR30 over here. We're going to talk about all these things. This is no top view, this is the top view only. Good, everybody saying yeah? Yes, thank you, Fotis. Calls to action. I'm always terrible at that stuff. I'm really hoping to do more of this. I like talking about content that is useful to me in my business. So I talk about maker entrepreneurialism, if that's a word. Every Friday with Andrew from 3D Gloop, I do a podcast where we talk about turning your hobby into your jobby. So plug for that. That's also on this channel. But other things like I want to go over are more pieces of content like this. The reason that I think other manufacturers are sending me things like this to play with on our farm is because we use it every day, and I like advocating for automation tools and things that make life easier in my job. So there we go. Desktop video has no audio. Thank you. Yes, that would be an important thing to add. And now it does. Look at that. Look at that. We learn and grow together. It takes a village. I think that should fix it. Testing again. Okay. All right. Sorry. A lot of housekeeping, guys. That's not cool. All right. Your price for admission, you didn't know. Now that I've got you here and I've reeled you all in, you do have a price for admission tonight. I'm asking a favor of all of you because I printed a ton of these little yellow tags on the JobOx. For those of you who follow me on Twitter and also follow my friend Abby, who is a teacher, has been advocating for these little yellow tags for suicide prevention week. That actually happened a couple weeks back, but they are trying to raise money for suicide prevention. And all you have to do is throw one on your printer and tag what's there. If somebody could do me a favor in the chat, go grab the link to the Cults 3D. You just have to show one. You don't have to send it anywhere. It's like a 19-minute print to do one of them. And every person that does that and tags, there's a $2 donation that a number of different people have decided to match. So I know that Joel Telling, the 3D printer nerd, has Dave Randolph at Printed Solid, and I apologize if I'm forgetting your others, but I really want to help Abby out. I'm going to show you guys a print job we did with it, but if you could please do that, put it on Twitter. I'm putting mine on up after the stream, and we can talk about all the other stuff I've printed as well. Okay. All right. Here's what I think I'd like to do. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of show you guys the mechanics of this thing. And I'll tell you about what I did to put it together. So before I run it through just the test cycle where you can actually see how the Prusa grabs a tray out of the magazine, pulls it and all that stuff, I'll just give you the broad strokes overview of the components. Now, this is going to kickstart tomorrow. I am not sponsored by this. I get nothing from this. This is just really interesting tech to me, and so I agreed that I would show it off on a stream. You guys have also seen me highlighted on Twitter as well, and I love it. I really love the simplicity of it. It's two guys that are trying to make a go of a business as well. You probably haven't heard of Urbanmaker before. I know I hadn't. They were doing just kind of some filament, and I believe they do print service in Germany. And of course, the idea was born of trying to improve their own business. And then they thought, hey, we've got a product here, like a lot of us that are in business often do. No shortage of ideas. So they asked me, reached out. Yuri was the gentleman that reached out to me, and he said, if we send you one, would you mind taking a look at it? Let us know if it's something you can use in your farm. Give us feedback, and if you want to show it off before the Kickstarter. They just got approved for it tomorrow. I know that they're really excited about that. I've gotten to see the teaser. I'm not allowed to share that with you yet, but I will just as soon as it's live tomorrow. It's interesting. They've got some great videos together. What I am allowed to do is just do a broad overview of it right now. I can talk about the assembly process. They did an amazing job with the build guide, and I can tell you that they pricing, I believe, for the set with like 3 trays is going to be somewhere in the 250 euro range. So I apologize if I didn't get that quite right. And so if you're in the US, that should be about $250, but that includes additional trays and all this other stuff that I'm about to show you here. So with that said, looking at the chat, making sure nobody's yelling at me for anything because I have nobody monitoring. Fotis says I'm looking sexy. Thank you, Fotis. I appreciate that. All right. Yes, nice to see some new innovations in 3D print automation. 3DQ, another awesome company focused on 3D print automation. I think it's Steven, if I'm not mistaken, in team. Apologies if I don't get that right. But we've seen the 3DQ system, which instead of a tray swapper is a like a knockoff, or a bump off, a plow system. I don't know what you guys would call it, but it uses the gantry to basically remove the part, and they have some secret sauce around their tray, and what was it called, the vapor tray, or they have a special material supposedly that allows it to release really well when it's done. So there's a lot of neat little ideas around that, and I'm going to talk about what's cool about this and maybe some shortcomings as it compares to some of the other automation systems I've seen as well. But first things first, let me show off the pieces. So really simply, there's two parts to it. The landing pad and the magazine. And I'm gonna take these. These are the trays. We're gonna talk about that in a second. I'm gonna take those out. And I apologize, I'm not mic'd, so I have to project while I'm doing this. And this is the magazine loader, and I'm gonna flip over to the top view, maybe get in a little closer, and we'll see how that looks. So I'll point this out, and you guys can take a look here. You can see there's really not a lot to it. It's just a little 2020 extrusion, pretty simple design. These little L brackets that are internal. It took me, I don't know, like 25-30 minutes to put the thing together. The printed part quality on it is really fantastic. I believe they printed all of these parts with their own systems on Prusa Mark IIIs. The magnetic capture that they have in here, and I agreed I wouldn't go, I guess, too big into it, but the fitment on a lot of this stuff is just spot on. I think they did a really great job, and kudos to them as well for, this is the unloader. This is kind of the little part where you'll see this in a second, where the build plate catches and hooks for release, and they've got some interesting magnetic system for that, so that's cool. I'm going to show you here, assuming we still have everything good. Everybody happy? Everybody seeing everything okay here? This is what the build instructions look like, and I don't know why. I geek out on this stuff. It reminds me, I don't know, something like of IKEA, right? So because they're a German company and because they want to be international, obviously they did a really good job of trying to minimize the amount of language. Now this is an English guide that they'd sent me, so I imagine that they've done it in different languages as well. But they don't really have a lot of text on here. Most of it's numerical. There's some stuff that I would probably add for a little bit more detail as I was kind of going through it, but it's pretty straightforward. Anybody that's certainly done a printer could easily, put this together. So I was really impressed by it. It inspires me to do better on my own build guides. So I'm gonna put these guys back. Really quick, just while we're still in the top view, you can see there's just these little like cleat landings that the frame of the Prusa just sits right on top of. So it's not even bolted to the Prusa, guys. It's literally just kind of placed on top of it. And I'm gonna slide the sheet forward, and then I'll show you that in a second as well. There's a special addition to the tray, and it just clips on. So I'm gonna take off these clips. You guys still hearing me okay? Projecting. This just sits on the existing bed, so I didn't have to unbolt anything. Like I said, the overall assembly and the time it took was like 30 minutes at the most, and I wasn't even trying to hustle. It's got some interesting little like textured feet and that help grip. You'll see as we load and unload bed plates. And these special notches that you see here and here are what kind of assist the grab along the way. So it just sits on the main thing. You take off the existing heated bed, obviously. Oh, and don't want to lose that. These guys, there's a number of parts that are 3D printed just using traditional FDM, and then these guys here are actually sintered nylon. And so really amazing detail, great design, great prints, and just looks super clean. I'm very, very impressed with this design. Obviously, they spent a lot of time and put a lot of effort into it. All right, let's flip back over here. All right, let me show you the. Here, I'll do one more top view for this. I think is the top view probably better. I mean, I can definitely do this, but I think you might be able to get a better view from on top. So this is the build plate, and it's two-sided. So this is a smooth PEI on one side, and this is a textured PEI. It's really good. I have to tell you, it's definitely on par with the stock PEI surface. So I've been printing a bunch on this. I do a lot of PETG, which the textured surface is a little bit better for. You can definitely do it on here too, but you have to have an interface of some kind, or otherwise it'll just weld itself to the PEI. So if you're doing a lot of PLA parts and stuff like that, maybe you want to consider this. One thing that they do say in their notes is you don't want to interchange the textured and the PEI, because part of the process when you're calibrating it, of course, is to do first layer, and you want that consistent first layer. I'll bet you could get away with it, but you just telling you what was told to me in the instructions. And you can see there's these little hooks that bolt through. So there's just 2 holes that are in the tray, and these are sintered nylon parts as well, with like a little nut trap in there. So it's a pretty clever design. And this is basically the the setup. So you load your magazine back here with up to 8 of these, and they were nice enough to send me 8. They originally sent me 3. I think the main set comes with 3. Main set comes with 3, but I asked them if I could get a full magazine, and so they sent me a couple more very kindly. And they say 8 is the max that you can put in the magazine. So here's a look of a fully loaded. Here you can kind of see from the side how it fits in this hopper. And let's run the test program so you guys can see how the system actually loads trays. I'm going to walk around front. So I'm going to try to project here. You can use the SD card just like normal, and I already preloaded it. And I'm going to the test program that they give you. It's just as aux test, so I'm running that, and it's going to start cycling through. And I'll zoom into the top again, or I'll show you the top view again, so you can kind of watch it work. I'll just move the filament out of the way for the time being. A nice mess going here. So you can see here it's just indexing. Those little hooks grab onto the back, and then it just kind of works its way forward and pulls the sheet on until it clicks completely on. One of the things that they do mention is that you need to have crash detection on. So what it's going to do right now for the test is it's just going to trace the... I'm going to cause problems here. It's just tracing the perimeter of the print area that it knows that it can use. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in a second. They give you basically an updated INI file for Prusa Slicer that just trims down the printable surface. You do lose a little bit of your Y, obviously, because if it needs to travel the full distance to do the load unload. So you can see here, it ran over to that little first hook, pulled it, and as the brilliance of that is, like, as it's grabbing on that first one, it actually does a little bit of lift when it pulls back, and that is what takes a lot of that magnetic force off. This is aluminum or aluminium, depending on your pronunciation of that, and so it's still using the magnetic force basically through that thin sheet of aluminium, and then just a little bit of friction from these pads. And it's just such a clever design. Watch it go. So all it's going to do here right now is it's just going to cycle through trays. So you can see it's just grabbing from the bottom of the magazine, pulling it through, and then kicking it out over here. And I'll talk about the process for loading prints in just a minute. But you can see now it's just tracing the printable area. The profiles that they give you for Prusa Slicer uses 205 on the Y, which I believe is, somebody correct me, I want to say it's 220 stock, so they trim 15. Is that right? Or is it 210? I feel like I should know that. Somebody tell me. Jordan, do the homework for me. Anyway, 205, and then they have a profile for 190 as well, which they claim is a little bit more forgiving when you have a full magazine. So you guys can see right off the bat, if there's a limit to how full the magazine can be, this isn't exactly something that you can run totally lights out with, right? Like at some point, you're going to have to clear prints, reload, And then the other thing that's obvious to you guys, as you can see, it's just shoveling stuff off, is how do you manage the plates as they're coming off? They don't really have an answer for that piece yet. They show some suggestions. I can describe, like in their video, they have a longer unload tray where it just kind of keeps shoveling stuff down, but obviously there's going to be a limit to that being practical. So maybe there's a good opportunity for another, product for belt feeding. You can also have it, you can adjust these little flappers here to go down so that it can just dump it into a bin, which, may work, but obviously depending on what you're printing here, then, is it going to collide? Is it going to break your prints? Are things going to fall off? So let me know what you guys think in the chat in terms of what the optimal way you would handle the unloading process, because I think that's a big question that I have around this, right? Obviously the footprint of the whole thing is much bigger. So, I'm thinking of this and how it compares to our traditional farm setup, and we don't have a lot of space. We have racks against the wall, and so implementing even this to get the magazine in there would require the shelf to be wider than the 2 feet that we currently have. Maybe you could pull it out from the wall, create some kind of cantilever space, and then strap some buckets or something to the front. I mean, I think there's any number of ways that you can handle it. The nice thing about it is that it allows you to certainly stay hands-off for a lot longer, right? And not necessarily compromise the print quality, because you are using the Prusa the way that it normally is. You will expect to get the part quality. There's just some stuff that I printed on the JobOx. That's one of our, well, it's not mine. It's the mini bracket in the Protopasta carbon fiber. But quality is just as good as the stock stuff. And I'm going to cancel this. And so, the benefit, as I see it, obviously, is it allows you to stay hands-off, like I said, longer, but not indefinitely. So on something like the CR30 with a belt printer, you might sacrifice some quality. Depends on the parts that you're printing and how you're set up. But you can go lights out with it, meaning not as long as you can keep it fed with filament, it will go indefinitely, especially with an Octoprint setup or clip. We basically use Clipper with Octoprint, feeding it using a plugin called Continuous Print. And so I can, in real time, keep updating that queue number of instances, and it'll keep spitting out parts as long as it's got filament. So obviously you can't quite do that here. You could find other ways to fill, to feed it more filament. But you're always going to be limited by how you can offload and reload. So a lot of times when you're running a farm, it's about just getting your jobs running within reasonable shift times. And by that, I mean, if you want to optimize your usage, you want to be able to run when people are not able to attend to it. So if you want to run cycles overnight and whatnot, depending on what you're printing, that may or may not be feasible. And obviously there are other ways to go about that as well, using bulldozer scripts and similar things. But I think where this thing really shines is when you start to do larger parts. So here's an example of the S box that's super popular right now, that this basically took up the entire tray area, the build plate area. And you can see it's really large parts. I was able to let this run for a couple days and kicked out a number of these lids in different box sizes, and the quality is just what you would expect of a Mark III. So, hey, Clayton's in the chat. Good to see you, Clayton. He says, no joke, machine uptime is no joke. Yeah, you really don't realize how much time you spend managing the machine, like, while it's not printing. until you kind of try to juggle a bunch of machines all at once. And obviously, the more machines that you have, Clayton can attest to this, he has a farm as well, you realize that it might take you 30 minutes sometimes, like when you come in the morning and everything's done, to clear and restart everything, right? And so whatever you can do to keep things running so that you can attend to them on the fly makes things smoother. So obviously, if you're just taking things off of a build plate and then reloading the magazine, you're able to manage more farm with less people, less hands. So it's definitely useful. All right. Questions. We'll do questions on kind of the mechanics of it first, and then what I'll do is I'll show you guys the software components that allows you to mux your G code together in a way that works with the JobOx. Does that sound good? So I'm just going to kind of go back through the chat and look at some comments, and you guys flag me if I miss something too. First question I'm seeing from Dom here, Geek Toy Box. Will they have something like Prusa's textured sheet that works better with PETG? So this is, Dom, this is the textured sheet side, and it is, here, let me show you here's a stock Prusa, and I'll mention what those guys are too in a second. Honestly, this is probably on par with, like, if you guys have seen the, what is it, Ultistick Surface. It's a nice beefy texture, gives you a great textured finish on the bottom. You know, I know it's kind of weird showing off to the ceiling, but oops. Let's do the top. Let's see if we can get in close enough. I don't know. Can you guys see the texture there? It's a little bit rough. Get an idea here. Let me grab another part. Actually, you know what? Something with some more surface area to look at. So you can see you get a really cool textured finish. And this is the carbon fiber PETG. No problems with release whatsoever. I didn't have any corners pulling up or anything like that, and then on the other side, as I was saying, is just a smooth sheet. Haven't really played with the smooth sheet much. Honestly, don't do nearly enough PLA these days. Not nearly enough. Actually, I was printing PLA for Abby's stuff, but I just ended up using the textured side, which was fine for that as well. Okay, really quick on this. I don't know if you can see. Go into top view again. So they call these little hooks here the spike adapters. And they're meant so that you can use the existing plates with the JobOx system. You got sintered nylon parts here, really clean, with a metal, let's call it an L clamp, that you tighten these set screws on the bottom, and it just pinches the whole thing together and basically allows them to hook onto the cutouts on the tray unloader. And so you can stack them up in the magazine. If you don't want to have to buy their sheets, you can use the existing sheets. So maybe that answers somebody else's question. Let's look at some other questions really quick here. Okay, anything else for right now? Non-Kickstarter pricing. I don't know yet. I honestly, because they haven't even Kickstarted yet, tomorrow is the day. I don't know. I have mentioned that I think it's interesting stuff. I know they're looking for resellers. I don't know how long the Kickstarter is going to go for. So when I know more, I will share. Let's see. Mad Monkey says the Pooch R30 is a better system. Yeah, I call it the Type R. So I'm glad you said that, because I'm a big advocate of it. It's the right tool for the right job. The CR30 that with all of our mods on it can give you some incredible results on certain parts. But I still can't get detail on parity. Flip around to the front view. I still can't get detail on parity with obviously a Mark III yet. There's just something about that 45-degree geometry that doesn't form parts the way that we're kind of accustomed to looking at it. And again, it just depends on what the part is. For like long extruded stuff, like it can be good, and it can actually hide layer lines in a different way for different stuff. But I would say generally speaking, I'm not comfortable saying I've got quality that's Prusa quality yet. We're getting a lot closer, but the challenges with it are consistency and the amount of work that you have to do to tune to a particular filament and a model that you don't have to do the same way with like a Prusa setup. The reason I always advocate for Prusa is not because of the machine itself, but because of the ecosystem, guys. It's the integration from everything from printables and the filament through the slicing process just makes it like work 90% of the time, 95% of the time. Like, you know that you're gonna generally, if you take a model in and you slice it and you use the presets that are for the Mark III, you're pretty reasonably gonna get the results that you might expect. Not always, but anybody out there that's run them knows that's kind of their strong suit, right? Like kind of the best out of the box, and it holds tune and is constantly improved. And you know, if you need support, there's always somebody there. Robust ecosystem. So it's you know, I'm a fanboy, obviously, but you get what you pay for. We run them really hard all the time. Don't do nearly enough maintenance on them, and then they still work. They're like, you know, they really truly are a workhorse. Which isn't to say that there aren't other workhorses and stuff out there, but I think there's a reason that you see it in more farm applications that are doing like what we do than any other printer right now. All right, you guys want to see how the software works? Let's see here. Flip over, make sure I'm not missing any chat stuff. Let's see. Dom says he likes using the existing sheets. Nice. Yeah, it's nice that they give you that option. I asked them originally too if there was a way, because at first I didn't like the way that the clamping felt. Like the tighter you make the set screws, the more it kind of torques itself and dents the thing. I didn't have a chance, and I really wanted to see if I could just drill matching holes and use the stock hooks. I know not everybody's probably keen on drilling their sheets, but it's literally like two small M3 size holes, and it seems like it might be a little bit more reliable over time. And we're pretty invested in these guys. What do these guys go for? Somebody look up what the pricing is on Prusa for like an extra build plate these days. Are they like $50, $40, something like that? So you can see right now, like a lot of your value when you get 3 of those build sheets plus all of this other stuff for $250. You go, well, $250. I don't know. I'll bet you. So when I say $250 for all of this, I guarantee you there's going to be a huge group that are like, that's way too rich for my blood. But given that there isn't really anything else out there that does it like this, I don't know. I can see a case again for the right parts, and we can talk a little bit more about what the right parts and application are in a little bit. But let me show you I feel like QVC. Let me show you the software piece first. So I mentioned at the top of the show, if you weren't here and didn't hear about that originally, they give you 2 INI files. When you look, actually, there's a little QR code on your instructions, and you scan that, and it takes you to the software. And really, all the software is the profiles for Prusa Slicer, and I believe they have profiles as well for Cura, if you're a Cura person. I can't remember if there were others, but there's no reason that you couldn't do this with other slicers. It's all G-code based. And the profile just shrinks the size of the Y-axis 5. Is it supposed to be 220 or 210 in the Y? Did I ever get that answer? Thank you. Bob says it's 40. Bob, can you look up to what the stock Y is supposed to be, or if anybody knows, just shout it out in the chat. Is it 210 or is it 220? I think you lose either 5 or 15 millimeters for the load and unload function. But the INI files basically shorten up the build area, but basically maintain all the rest of the stock Prusa profiles. And then you run it through a calibration process just like you would when you're doing the first layer Z. So it's a little bit thicker, obviously, because you got the little unloader piece as well as the thickness of the tray. 210. Thank you, Jordan. Mad Monkey. Stock is 210, so that means you're only losing 5. 5 millimeters is not bad. Actually, 5 millimeters made the difference to be able to print the S box. So these are 203. Which just fit with the JobOx on the 205 profile. They also give you that 190 profile, which they said if you're going to run like 8 plates was a little bit more reliable. One of the notes that they gave me was that some of the early trays that they were doing, they didn't deburr the edge enough and it was causing additional drag. And so they asked me to just deburr them, but for the Kickstarter and hopefully the stock ones, that's not going to be an issue. Honestly, it wasn't an issue for me. I did run my finger over it and I was like, yeah, maybe there's some burrs there, but I didn't notice it catching anything at all. I can, for those late to the party here, I can start running a print, I guess, while I'm talking, just so you can see its process. But obviously it's, I'm going to sit here and watch the thing print and kick out. It's going to take at least 20 minutes. But why don't I do that? Why don't I slice another one of Abby's? By the way, if you guys haven't run one of these tags for Abby Math yet, please go help her. They're raising money. All you have to do is print one and tag it on Twitter, Instagram, and the donors are going to kick in. They're trying to get 500 people to do that by the end of the month. And I will put details on Twitter after this, but if you are already doing that, thank you. And I appreciate you guys for helping with that. Noble cause. Okay, the other side besides the profile, big question, how do I tell it how many of what print, obviously, that I want to do? And for that, I'm going to my little screen share. They have a browser-based app, and it's very simple. So you would slice a tray just like you would any tray, and you'll go into this app, and let's see here. Let me go to my screen here, and you'll pick a file, and I'm going to go to my downloads here, and I downloaded a bunch of stuff. Yeah, you know what? Here, let's see. You get to see all my files. Congratulations. Let's see, or maybe you don't. Let's see. Yellow ribbon G code. Open that up. There we go. So I picked that, and I'm going to tell it I want to do it 5 times. So you'll notice the little meter here at the bottom. This is one of the other limitations of the system. So I can pick as many files as I want. I can pick a bunch of different G codes, and I can tell it to repeat a number of times, or I can do a bunch of individual parts. I'm going to go to a different project. Say I want to print my zombie hand. I don't have G code for that currently. How about the JobOx G code for the S box? Excuse me. So here's like the top handle parts. So I'll throw that on there. So that was a bigger file. So you can see this little meter is going up. The limitation, as I understand it from these guys, is 450 megabytes for a single G-code file on your SD card. So it basically is just aggregating together the number of instances and independent files that you've got here, and then it merges them for you and kicks out a whole new G-code. Now, one of my pet peeves about this is that the file that it kicks out is not very meaningful. It just gives you a date and it calls it the mix.g code. So I'm hoping that they can come up with a better way to apply some context. I don't know how you would actually name this when you have a mix of like 20 different files potentially, or 8 different files. But obviously you can do more than 8. You just have to make sure you're unloading and reloading the tray before it needs to pull another one for the magazine. So that's G-code mixing. Slicing is literally just so for Prusa slicer, it's exactly what you would expect it to be. You just pick the printer profile. So instead of the MK3S profile, you would print the JobOx 190 or 205 profile that they gave you, and then you would set your filament and your printer settings as normal slice. So there's kind of 2 steps, right? You're kicking out the G-code for each tray, and then you would save those G-codes somewhere, and then you take it into their aggregator, and that is what basically you would put on your SD card, load it in, and start it going. Mad Monkey says, I presume adding some start-stop code and number of repeats. Yes, so obviously that's the other thing that the Muxer, I'm just calling it the Muxer, the Mixer, whatever, is doing. It's in between each of those G-codes, it's adding the start-stop code for the tray unload and load. And I will tell you, some of the things I've noticed, it's not going to be practical for me to run it in the stream. I mean, I'll set one going just so we can do some prints. Because why not? Why don't we do that real quick? Print from SD. I'm never going to do it this way. This is interesting too. I'll talk about it. Let me flip this around while I'm over here talking about it. If you guys can see down here, this little setup that they did for the screen just kind of slides into the notch here, and instead of having the screen and buttons and stuff bolted on here, all you're doing is unhooking it, putting it on here, and then it just notches itself into the extrusion, which I thought was really clever, and I'm probably risking unplugging it, so I'm not gonna do that. But there's no bolts or anything holding it on there. You know, they could very easily put something in there to hold it in place just so you have room to remove the SD card and stuff still. But anyway, let's find some prints here, and let's do. You know what? I'm gonna run some more yellow ribbon parts, because why not, right? Support Abby and her amazing cause for Suicide Prevention Week. So you can see, here we go. Let's go do the top view again for those that were late to the party. Late to the party. Top only. There we go. You can see it just loaded its tray. All right. Great success. Pause for a sip of fine LaCroix. Not sponsored. Hashtag not sponsored. And boring. When we watch it, it's just basically heating up the hot end. So I'll tell you while it's doing this, and I'll go back here, the things I've noticed just kind of watching it through the course of the week. It's pretty, let's say, conservative with the load and unload script, in that they really want to make sure that it doesn't catch or jam on anything. And so while it could probably like do an unload and load in like 2 maneuvers, it takes like 3 or 4. And on the unload, it's even more conservative. It just kind of inches it away, because at the end of the day, the amount of time that it's taking to unload and load trays is pretty trivial as compared to the print time, obviously. And so I can understand why they would take a more conservative approach to make sure it clears. They do mention you need to have crash detection on, because they don't want you to damage the printer. If for some reason there's a jam or something doesn't unload properly, crash detection will basically halt the whole thing and prevent you from busting up your machine. I did notice a couple failure modes that were interesting, and they mention this in the guide. If you do not have this on a flat surface, and it causes a little bit of bowing where the magazine and the bend and the unloader are arced, that can obviously negate its ability to grab and load and unload the tray. So having a flat surface is key for this. When it did screw up, there were a few times it did screw up. It didn't unload fully, and I'm not entirely sure why because I wasn't here for it. But it was interesting because it sent it into the whole recalibration. It had assumed that it had gotten the tray off, but the tray was just kind of hooked here, and the probe was just kind of going up and down, trying to re-Z itself indefinitely, which I think is just the failure mode for the Prusa. If you were to try to start a print and it was not detecting the sheet. I will tell you, if you don't have a sheet on here, the capacitive sensor doesn't seem to get a reading on the aluminum, let's call it the mid sheet or the unloader sheet. And so that was what I think was, there was a couple times where it was just wasn't giving good reading, and it just kept trying to re-Z itself, which was interesting. Let's see. Back for some questions. Oh, Andre's here. Andre, welcome. One of the creators. I believe he's the lead engineer. So I'm glad you're here to help answer questions. That's great. It is like the middle of the night in Germany, so very lucky to have you here. And excellent work, my friend. I've really enjoyed getting into the genius of your design here. Let's see. Oh, Mihao asks, is there a reason you can't do more than 8 plates due to the weight on the bottom of the plate? That's a great question. Maybe if Andre wants to field that. One of the things I've noticed, Dom, is because of the way the hooks lay on top of each other, at some point, if you start stacking too many of these on top of each other, it seems like it would be impractical. Maybe too much weight, maybe too awkward. I don't know. Maybe some combination of the two. Good bet that it could be weight. Let's see. No, weight is not taken into account. Okay. So we'll see what he has to say about that. Let's see. Lindsay says US is 98 cents per euro, so they're basically pricing at 200. It'll be less than $200. Yeah, I want to say they said it was going to be 250 at launch, but we're going to find out tomorrow. Custom start and stop transition G code. Does the slicer take into account the weight of the print transition? That was the question that Andre just answered. Yes. Okay. So it is due to weight. 8 plate limitation is suggested limit due to the weight. Yeah. So obviously, that could be a thing. Oh, this is interesting. What do we have here? We have a fail. Z level failure. All right. Let's see. Make sure that it loaded okay. You know what's interesting? Let's see here. No, that's all the way to the back. I'm noticing the probe is at the very back edge of the tray when it's checking this back row with 7x7 leveling. So that's my default. The firmware I have set to do the 7x7 probe. So it's re-Zing itself right now. And let's see if it just self-corrects. You get to see how the sausage is made, everybody. It's kind of hard to tell maybe from where you are because of the gantry, but I can tell you right now the pin to probe is literally right at the edge of where... Uh-oh. And the other thing is it looks like the hooks have gotten onto this, which we don't want. There we go. Looks like we might not have landed clean when the thing loaded. All right. The joys of live demos, huh? Let's see. 3DQ asks, what happens if you try to print something when there are no more plates left? That's a good question. It will it will basically try to print on the sheet unloader, and it will do that Z thing that I had noticed because the probe does not read the bed level correctly, and we're printing. But our Z does not look good. We are very mashed. I'm going to kill this, and we're going to try again. I don't like this, and I don't want to damage the plate. But we are way out of level. I feel like there's... Oh, we weren't on there totally. That's the problem. Let's try it again, shall we? Let's bring that Z up. Let's just throw a fresh one on. We'll let it pull its own on. How about that? All right, let's give it a go again. This doesn't feel like it's... A little bit of play here in this. I don't know if that's because I've been using it so much or not. But there is a little bit of slop, Andre, that I'm noticing in the thing here. Enough to make it about maybe a millimeter different. So I don't know if that might need to be tightened up somehow. Okay, what I did, I actually bent the shovels back a touch so that it held this a little bit more firm. So we'll see. All right, let's try it again. Okay. We'll go to the top again. Top down, middle out compression. All right, I'm watching it closely. All right, landed on the second slot, slowly pulling itself out, moving over. All right, that is clean landing. I'm gonna call. Looks like maybe like a slight bias, or I can't tell if the sheet might be sticking out in one corner because of what I did. I don't know what to call that little underwear, the underloader. Huh. All right, now it's heating again. So, all right, more questions. What do we got? Live troubleshooting with Pooch. Yes. Let's see. Like a foam shelf to this table. Don't lose a finger. Yeah, I don't think it's that sharp, Jordan. Let's see. Yeah, leveling will fail is what I said earlier. So the failure mode, something to consider, Andre. We use a neural nut to tighten the bed. Now it works better. Okay, so there's been changes even since the version I got, which isn't surprising. Obviously, we are iterating quickly here, ladies and gentlemen. That's good to hear. The engineers are on it. We hear you and are addressing the problem. Yeah, the failure mode, I was going to say, when there is no tray loaded, is it will repeatedly try to re-Z. Because crash detection doesn't seem to apply there. Not the best failure mode, but I don't know what other choice you would have if the probe can't detect the sheet. And it's probably better that it do that than to try to print on the underlayment sheet. What do they call it? Let me see what he calls that. Hold on. I want to make sure I'm using the right terminology. So they call it the bed cover, guys, the bed cover. Yeah, I don't think you'd want to try to print on your bed cover. It'd probably cause a hot mess. So I guess it's better that it keep trying to re-Z than nothing. No perfect solution. Always trade-offs with these types of things, right? Whether, if you want to be able to keep going, maybe that's a worthwhile trade-off. It seems like it could be. Could be. I am a month and a half behind on updates. That could well be. That could well be because they did send it to me a while ago. Robot hand systems for Vishal says all the robot hand systems for build plate replacement look so over-engineered in front of this design. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's talk about that. The if anybody has seen the Prusa multi-part system, what do they call that? They've displayed it. They had it in Dubai. I saw it at TCT. But basically their system is intense, right? It looks like a series of Excel modules. I'm told they're based on that. It's a very complicated system, and it took them a while to set it up and tear it down. And then there's a whole robotic tray unloader system and management tool. The other thing that might be similar, if you guys have seen the array that Mosaic has been doing, that utilizes a similar concept, a node-based thing where you have a series of printer nodes and then a robotic loading and unloading system. Obviously a lot more expense, a lot more complicated, but theoretically that type of system could run indefinitely as long as the robot stays running and keeps it fed, right? The advantage that the Mosaic system, the array, has is that they're implementing kind of their palette for filament splicing alongside of it too. So theoretically, you can splice in rolls and get notifications when you need to replace a non-running roll of filament basically while the print's going. So theoretically, you could run indefinitely as long as you just keep feeding in new spools that splice themselves in. So pretty cool stuff, obviously, but is it worth all of that extra expense? Is it worth all of those extra things that can go wrong? As compared to, say, $250 for something like this? Depends on who you are, right? Obviously, there's a use case for everyone, and when you're looking at industrial tools and what like massive companies are going to pay with large budgets, that's a different thing. Gonna have to have different service level agreements and stuff. This is obviously a roll your own type solution where you have to maintain your own, but there's not a lot to maintain. Okay, something's not right here. So I can tell you right now, it hooked. It went too far and tried to unload before it finished its sequence. Why did it do that? Huh. Let me try running a print that I ran earlier that was on the 190 profile. That's interesting. So here I'm going to switch views just so you can see. Let's not print on that. We do not want to print on the bed cover. So we're going to kill that. This could well be user operator error, guys. User error. I have been known to screw things up before. Believe it or not. So what happened just now was when it was doing its bed leveling sequence, the Y went just ever so slightly too far forward where it hooked the unloader on that back row. I don't think I've seen it do that before. And I'm looking at the positioning. Make sure we're level. We are level. We are on the cleats. So it just traveled a touch too far. It flirts with it typically when you're trying to use this, but it's not supposed to hook when it's doing its level sequence. Sorry, Mike. Let's try running a different one. Sorry, guys, I'm doing the best I can here. I'm not sure what the issue is. wonder if it has anything to do with the weight. Maybe try with less things. What do you guys think? Lindsay says $250 is like 50 lattes. That's true. It's just for the price of 50 lattes, this all could be yours. Yeah, the plate landed again. Like I was worried. I noticed that. You're right. It did land wrong. It didn't. Well, I don't think it landed wrong on the base plate. You think it might have landed too far forward? Is that what it is? Like I feel like this play that we've got here could be enough that it's just a little too far forward now. Of course, I promise it was not doing this when I was using it all week. Let's try a different print. Print from SD. Let's you know what? Let's do this one worked great when I did it. Let's do this. Let's try this. This is not really the filament I'd want to use for it, but whatever. Just start a print already. Well, let's see if it lands again. Living on the bleeding edge, guys. Living on the bleeding edge. All right. Hook just over that. Just over that. All right. I'm going to sneak a peek down here. All right. I can tell you right now, these hooks are right on the edge of the base build plate. They're right where I would expect them to be. This doesn't look canted anymore. I feel like I saw this might have had a little twist originally, because I saw a little bit of the heating cover or the bed cover was exposed, but just like, I don't know, millimeter. Now I know how Joel feels on his streams when he's like, trying to run a new printer. The loader isn't aligned right with the printer, table-eyed viewed. It isn't? What do you mean? What are you talking about, Willis? Yeah, it is. Loader. I mean, maybe there's a little left to right. I think it was like the whole thing was maybe twisted this way, so maybe the top view didn't look like it was quite square. But let's see. All the feet are where they should be. Let's see how this one does. Look at the bottom right according to the camera view. The bottom right. Bottom right. So if I'm assuming you mean when I'm on the top view. Bottom right. Let's get some of my tools and stuff out of the way. So over here, are you talking about over here, Dom? Maybe you saw like this back corner was like hanging off the table slightly or something. I know it's hard because you don't have the view I do. No, I mean everything looks like it's where it should be. I'm just wondering if it wasn't landing square, or if like doing this repeatedly was causing some wiggle in the unloader. Figures, right? Do it live and it screws up. No, I want to show off like what it does, because it's like we've created a ton of stuff. So while we're trying again, we'll talk about application. So Lindsay has a comment. Yeah, Andre says the plate seems right. Place. Yeah, it's Gremlins. It's always Gremlins. Lindsay had a comment. This will be a great, I'm assuming, addition. Has been looking at other systems for what they manufacture. The belt system is not viable. Lindsay, tell me why. I'd be curious to know. I mean, I completely agree that there's the right tool for the right job, and there is stuff that we can do on the belt that we can't do here, and certainly vice versa when it comes to detail and certain types of print and overhangs and stuff. So it's not to say that we can't get really close, and it just depends on the geometry of the prints you're doing and all that stuff. But again, right tool for the right job. This could be another great tool in the toolbox. I will tell you, for large prints that use like the full build plate, it seems like it could be a really good solution. I can guarantee you that the snap fit details that you need for this S-Box model that's on... By the way, go check this out on Printables if you haven't yet. Somebody do me a favor and throw a link in there if you would. I think it's one of the featured items, but just type in S-Box, S as in Sam, box on Printables, and it's so hot right now, but it's a really cool modular design. It's designed specifically to fit on the build plate of the Prusa, like max out the whole thing, and the fitment of everything is just so chef's kiss perfect. Okay, this is where we went wrong before. Yes, another great tool in the toolbox from the tool that just printed a bunch of toolboxes. A fleet of toolboxes. Okay, all right. That is so close. It is not even funny. Like, we're flirting with the end, but it didn't catch that time. But it was like a millimeter away. So, I don't know. And maybe this is something that they might look at. Like, maybe it's worth shaving another mil or two off the Y. Or bumping this distance back. I don't know, because it looks like if there's just ever so slightly any variance in this hook position, it will catch and unload on the bed level sequence. That time it didn't. And we are finally printing. So it does its own little purge line. They like to do a little like oval thing, and now we're going with the skirt. And no, we're not tangled. This is the finest in Repcord yellow PLA. So you can see the size of the skirt. I'll go to the top view, top down. Pretty much the max build area. And guys, I want to be fair here. Andre and Yuri have been incredibly receptive to feedback. They've worked really hard on this thing. They've been sending me a number of updates on the fly, and I'm hearing from Andre now, who's up at what time is it in Germany right now, Andre? The middle of the night, telling us what's going on. But they have been working really hard to get this thing to see the light of day, and I am more than happy to advocate for this. I think that this is a really neat tool. I think it's a great idea, great project, an elegant design, and I think it'll do really well. I think they're not going to have any problem funding on the Kickstarter. I'm just going to go on record right now. I have no way of knowing. I don't want to jinx it, but I think it's good. Thank you, Bob, for that printables link for the, I'm assuming, what's the S-Box. Really cool model design, guys. Go check that out. I don't remember the name. He's a Czech designer, and I don't remember his name. I want to say it's like Michael or something. But man, so talented. What haven't we covered? What haven't we talked about? So we can see this print. This print is like 13 hours or something. It's a lot of plastic. 311. That's a good band. It's 311 in the morning, I'm assuming. So he's committed to watching our silly little stream here. But I can only imagine his excitement because it's where he is. It's his finally his launch day, and anybody that's brought a Kickstarter to launch knows how long that road is, and I'm just happy for you guys. It's awesome, really awesome. Okay, so you could say we're printing just like we would on any other thing, any other standard build plate for a Prusa, and it will just do its thing and go through the load and unload cycle like I showed you before. So when it's done with that, it'll run it off here, hook it on, lift it off, slide it forward. So now my question for you guys is, what do you see as the primary application for this, as opposed to a belt, as opposed to sequential printing? So you guys know sequential printing. There's a mode inside Prusa Slicer. I think different slicers call it different things, where on certain models, if you have enough room, you could print a model all the way to completion in a corner and then move over, and assuming you have enough clearance and the model isn't tall enough, you could print another one, and then you can go back and print another one, and sometimes you can print maybe 6 or 7 models depending on the size of the model. And that's got some benefits of doing things a certain way, right? So, when I first started this, I was just testing. I wanted to watch it do the unload thing. I wanted to see if it would just work the way it was supposed to. So I just picked something where I could print a reasonable number of them and let it go overnight. I know, brave, right? Like, never having used the thing before, but I wanted to run it. And I wanted to see if it would see itself to completion, and it did. It did, and it spat it out. And of course, no sooner did I post that than Tom Sandlatter said, you can fit more than one of those on a build plate. And I said, yes, Tom, I know that I could fit more than one of them on a build plate. But it's neat because you can now do consecutive or sequential printing and not be limited by the gantry height or the collision area. So obviously, to print something, if you were to print like a tall vase, you can't just, even if it was like a tall skinny vase, like a champagne flute, for example, you can't print anything that's going to be higher than the gantry, the X gantry here, because or it's a combination of that, right? It can't be higher and it can't pass beneath it, right? Because it would collide with the gantry as the Y is moving back and forth. So maybe you could print a flute here and then back up far enough so that the print head and the gantry would never collide with the finished piece here. But obviously with a system like this, you can do consecutive printing now at full volume, right? Where the advantage is if there is a failure, or doesn't come out clean, theoretically it could clear itself, not knowing what the failure is. If you ran out of filament or whatever, it might. If you ran out of filament, it wouldn't do you any good. Obviously, you wouldn't have filament for the next one. But if I don't know, overhang failure or something cascade, maybe you're doing a series of parts on the sheet and you had a cascading failure. Theoretically, it's possible that the tray, when it unloaded and you started over, could recover and get a clean print on the next plate, like if you lost adhesion, for example, on the base. Bob says it looks like the only limitation would be desk space for offloading the plates. Yeah, we talked about that at the beginning. I'd be really curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are on an unloader. The suggestions I've gotten from Andre and Yuri at Urbanmaker are a bucket mode. So I mentioned, I'm going to flip back over to my top view. These little unloader ramps here, they can actually flip over so that they can't downward. And that allows the sheet, when it comes off here, to slide down the ramp and potentially into a bucket. And so if you have small, lean parts like this that really aren't going to get damaged, it doesn't matter if they pop off the plate. It all just kind of collects in the bucket. For larger things like delicate vase mode, you might not want the trays colliding with each other. So in that case, you might have a continuous rail that just kind of shovels them off. And you have a landing zone, ideally, that just is long enough so that somebody can walk by and unload them, but the printer can keep going, right? That's really, I think, what their original thought is. Now, if I was trying to fully automate something like this, obviously it's limited by the G-code mixing and how much filament you can give it. But for the unloading, if I wanted to unload clean, I think I would try to come up with something that maybe could shovel stuff off or index. Like, I think you might consider an add-on product for a conveyor. It could be passive, maybe wheels, but something that just like had a little end stop detector or an optical sensor or something. And so when it came off of here, it would just kind of roll a predetermined amount forward. Like I think a very simple unloader could be a conveyor belt. But again, then what do you do with it going left to right? I don't know. Let's think about like what the worst case scenario would be. If you printed a full volume part on a plate, big old face, yay high. Theoretically, if these are falling off, like that's going to take up a lot of space inside your bucket, and pretty quickly you're going to have stuff toppling onto the floor, potentially breaking your prints and all that stuff. Maybe that's not an ideal part. I don't know. Maybe that's one where you might want to have just a longer tray and just let it keep pushing stuff off. But again, now the trade-off is the footprint of this whole thing. And I'm not a big fan of large footprint stuff because I don't have a lot of space. So I don't know that there's a perfect solution here, guys. Worst kind of prints are the 1 to 2 hour prints that can't be batched. And let me tell you something, 3DQ knows what the worst kind of prints and the best kind of prints are because they have printed a lot of things. What do you mean by that? What are 1 to 2 hour prints that cannot be batched? So it's happening quickly. You don't want... When you say can't be batched, do you mean like you can't put them multiple parts on one tray? Vase mode prints are... Yeah, I beat him to it. Okay. John Strand says an automated belt system. Again, the belt just has to go somewhere, right? Like ultimately, like imagine you just had a cube, guys, like a full volume cube. Like, what do you do with that? I don't know that we're printing a lot of like full volume cubes, but it is certainly possible. Like if you're doing ornate, let's talk about the business application. Let's say your product is these ornate vases, that are gonna take up a large amount that probably are not ideal for a belt because belt can't do vase mode. Not the way you think, at least. So if we're just thinking the traditional vase, like this could be a great application for automating some really nice ornate vases. I like saying vase because it sounds fancy. But again, those are going to be delicate. So you don't want them toppling everywhere. So the trade-off for something like that is maybe you just need a long, tray. So you could put one, say you could probably fit on a rack, like on our racks at the shop. We've got the just under like 7 foot wide by 2 feet deep shelves. This here, let me get my tape measure. I'll tell you what the size is. Nobody asked. Maybe somebody asked. I got my tape measure. That's my tape measure song. 3 feet. And for those of you who don't speak freedom units, that's like 90 centimeters. 90 centimeters. That is like the footprint of this as is. This whole table is 74 inches, so just over 6 feet, and just under 200 centimeters. So that's about the size of our racks at the shop, and this is probably a little bit deeper. deeper, just an inch and a half deeper. This is 25.5 inches, not 24. So this is a good approximation, you know, from here to here, maybe my arm span of like what our racking setup is at the shop. So if you were to turn it this way, you could easily get, just gonna nudge you out of the way, 2 complete trays, 3 complete trays, 4 complete trays, let's call it 5. You could easily get 5 complete trays if you just had longer extrusions, and I would imagine that there's enough torque in the y-axis that it wouldn't have a problem shoveling forward. The other interesting thing about these hooks is they kind of act as the little plow that kind of push the next one down the line. So the question or the trade-off then becomes, okay, it takes one shelf to hold one JobOx, and you can basically have 5 complete parts unloaded before you have to have somebody attend to it, right? That's a lot of print time. So for something like a product like of that level of detail, that could well be viable, honestly. I think that would still save you a lot of time because, again, you got to think about what it's like when you've got, say, 10 of these. Like you're doing a farm operation, and your operator, just what can one operator do and keep machines cycling and running, right? And so if basically you're saying you can let 5 stack up before somebody has to come back and attend to it, clear it off, and load another one. And I'll tell you, a vase mode print does not take up a lot of file space, so you could probably print hundreds of those. Now I'm curious. Now I want to slice like a vase mode print. Somebody throw out a link for a vase, a vase that they want printed, and I'll slice it. And it'll be we could probably print one, spiral it out, and then we'll see. We'll see what the size of the G code is and how many of them we could mux into one G code file to run on the JobOx and just let it go. And then think about what that would look like on the production line. Does that sound fun? I think that sounds fun. Overnight printing weekends, Bob mentions. Yeah. So running the farm, one of the first things you realize when you run the farm is like there's a ton of idle time overnight, right? If you're not running 24/7, you're trying to create programs that are going to run throughout the night so that when you get there in the morning, ideally they're just finishing. You time your batches to shifts. It's an interesting way to think of it. So if you're running just a single 8-hour shift during the day, like a 9 to 5, right? Ideally, at the end of the day, you want to have everything going at 5 o'clock to run a 16-hour cycle so that it runs all the way overnight as effectively as possible. If you want to max out your machine hours, you're running 16 hours on each, and then when your operator gets there in the morning, they're clearing out, restarting, and going again. And that would be if you were just totally manually processing. Now, what we're talking about with something like this or belt printing is the ability to basically run kind of the maintenance, but while the machine is still running, right? So that you're as close to 24/7 operation with the robot, with the printer as possible. All right, Bob's got a vase for us. Let's look at this. Real-time Pooch proofs is the tetrahex ripple. Sure, it's a decorative vase. Let's do the tetrahex ripple. Why not? Just to give you guys a sense of this file, because I don't think you can see my screen. I think I can do a screen share. Let me go back to my screen share here. Here we go. Here's the tetrahex ripple. This is a very nice looking. Now I don't have any dichromatic filament right now. Believe it or not, I have a ton of filament and I have no dichromatic. Can you believe that? No quantum. This is by Chris the Viola Nerd. Okay, cool. All right, Chris. I'll be your Huckleberry. We're going to download the Tetrahex Ripple Vase STL. There you see me downloading an STL. I'm very proficient in downloading. Okay. And now I am opening Prusa Slicer. This is all very exciting for you guys to listen to, I know. And let's see, can I screen share this? I bet you I can. I'll just let you see what this looks like. Wait, not that. No, not a good time. Hold on. I've lost my OBS window. There it is. Toggling back. Okay, here. Screen share. Let's see, can I change? This is probably very risky, changing my screen share window real time, huh? Window capture. I'm going to toggle over to, where are you at, Prusa Slicer? OBS. Oh, there it is, Prusa Slicer. There it is. You see my Prusa Slicer? Do you see it? Hold on, let me scale it. It's too big. Isn't it fun? Isn't it just fun to watch me fumble around on my computer? Well, I guess all right, here we go. So this is just the profile that they give you for the JobOx. So you can see over here, this is the 205. I'm going to toggle over to the 190. I was playing with a 203 profile just because I was getting that. I did get that catch before. Okay, so anyway, 190 draft. Let's load up the Zangief. That's date today. Here we go. Here's our Ripple Vase. Ripple Vase. That is it's a monster vase, Bob. Let's see. Well, at draft quality, and I've got a 0.4 obsidian on here right now. Well, let's just see what it's going to take. Let's say 0.3 is the draftiest draft on a point. 0.3 is the draftiest draft. It is too big, so we could scale it. Why don't we scale it and see? Let's just scale it down to what it needs to be. No. I don't know how much detail that's going to cause us to lose. Let's see what that does. And we'll just realign it. Fine. Slice. Oh, wait. Kind of got to tell it to do vase mode, don't we? Where are you, vase mode? Platter. Dun, 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 dun. Solid layers. Oh, come on. Spiral vase right in front of me. Jeez. Yes, do that. All right, now let's slice it. Slicing finished. There we go. Wow. Okay. It's still a 4-hour print. That's not exactly what I had in mind, but I guess we can run it unless we want to try to find something faster. I don't know. Let's go back. Let's see what everybody's saying. Yes, thank you. Spiral vase and vertical shell. I know it's guys are like yelling at me. I know it's like right in front of me, and I've had a long day, so deal with it. I mean, I can make it smaller, and it could print a little faster. I just think at some point we're gonna lose our little jaggy details and stuff like that. Let's just scale it down a touch more, because why not? There we go. We'll call it what are we saying? That's like, it says it's 30. Let's make it 40%. I could put. I mean, I do have a Revo. I could put a fatter nozzle on it. You want me to throw a 0.8 on it? Let's do that. Transfer all of those, and we'll make it even draftier. I mean, it might really bork the whole thing, but let's just see. Okay, now it's a 1 hour. I know I'm like practically eating the mic here. Sorry if that's loud. Sure. Let's look. I mean, I don't know, man. That looks pretty porous. But maybe it'll be artistic, you know? I don't know. It works for Filament Frenzy. Let's try it. YOLO. Bob's Vase. In my projects folder, Bob Vase. In honor of Bob. Bob, is that your call sign? Bob? Bob's Vase. Save. All right, let's kill this print. Come over here. Wait, hold on, let me go back to the... We're done slicing, so... YOLO my Rolo. Okay. Porous but artistic. Put it on a shirt. Thank you. I will, Joel. Let's see. I've got too many windows open. OBS. Let's go back to the stream. Hello. I'm here. Still here. Did you guys miss me? Did you get scared? I bet you did. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to kill it. Because nobody wants to wait 16 hours to see that. Stop that. Yes. I'll tell you the advantage of having 8 of these build plates is you just yeet it out of the way and you've got plenty of other ones to load in. So, yeet! Just toss a freshie on there. Oh, this way. You guys get to see the whole process this way, right? I get to just slice. I mean, you can. There's no smoke and mirrors here, guys. This is the real deal. Who's excited? Who's excited like Pooch is excited? All right, we got our SD card. We're loading it into our streaming rig, and we are slicing while we are streaming. And let's see. Bob doing Bob things is just like Joel, just like Earth buttons. Yeah, that's a good one. Oh, you want to see a Poochicorn, huh? Huh, llama? Okay, we're going back over to the slicer real quick. You don't get to watch this time because I don't want to toggle again. I'm lazy. Okay, and we are going to export the G-code to the SD. I'll throw it in my Bob Vase R&D directory. And, oh, you know what? No. We have to take it into the AI. I'm not the AI. The app. God, brain no worky today. Okay, here we go. Back over to this. Going over here, and we're gonna say change this window capture back over to Google Chrome JobOx app. There we go, back over to here. So we're gonna delete these like that. We're gonna choose this. We're gonna go to our projects folder. We're going to Bob's Vase. We're going to Bob's Vase G code. We're opening that. We're gonna tell it we want 5 of them because I'm gonna stream for 5 hours. No, that's not true. I'm not. And so, but this is what I wanted to do. You can see it's a Vase mode print. It's like a megabyte at the size, at the 40% size. So we could go. I'm imagining we could probably do like not quite 450. Okay, so we can do like, we could do 449. We could do, we could do 445. Oh, 444. There it is. Oh, we got yellow bar. We're close to the limit. 400. 402. It's funny. Here's a bug, Andre. If you're still here, it's not a bug, but it won't let me index above 100 on your little thing. Probably because most people wouldn't try to do this. 433. So I mean that's quite a few. So what's the hours on that? We said you can do 444. What the heck? Fine. We got 444. We're gonna merge it. It's gonna make a massive file. Going into the folder. I'm assuming that that's leaving enough. Now here, this is interesting. I don't think you can see my screen here because I've got my file window open. But 444 Bob Vase. It's a little bit larger, obviously, because it's got to have all the G code for the tray load and unload. So we're gonna either bork it, or it's going to work. Maybe the 450 allows for the additional G code, or maybe it does not. We will soon find out. So I've got my SD card in, and I am dragging it into my SD card folder, R&D, and it's copying. It's estimating the time. So it's 67 megabytes copied. Oh, taking a little bit of time. I haven't watched something copied to an SD card and take any time for a while now. I'm not sure why this is. Should be a class 10. I'm surprised it's taking this long. 230 megabytes. Let me go back over to me, because I know you guys want to see me. Hi. Well, it's copying. Almost done. Almost done. 402. Maybe it's not a class 10. It's just the cheap card that came with the Prusa. Oh, there it is. We got a little bonky noise. That's a technical term. Bonky. You hear me better now? We're going to eject. Eject. Eject, Bob. Eject. Okay. All right. We have ejected. I'm coming around over here again. Let's see. Well, it read the card. 440. It shows up. My golly. You know what? It just occurred to me. I don't even know. I didn't change the nozzle, so we're gonna stop that. I need to change the nozzle to a 0.8, which I have right here, handy, isn't it? God bless the Revo. And we are going to we're gonna change the filament too, because who wants a boring yellow vase? Except for Bob, probably. Bob wants a boring yellow vase. I'm gonna find. You know what? I know. I've got just the filament for this, guys. Hold on. Okay, I got two options. And they're both really good options. Really good options. Shh. Quiet, you. All right. There we go. Taking that out. Doing a filament change. You tell I'm just punchy after a long day. Isn't it great? Yeet! Okay, so the options are... I got too many windows open. Yes, that's right. I'm pushing the limits, baby. That's what I do. Thank you, Bob. The like button is animated. Don't believe me? Go click it and find out. Yes, please click the like and subscribe if you're into this kind of streaming content. If you want to see me do more of this stuff, talk about automation systems, things that support your 3D printing business, or you just love geeky stuff like I do. Like, subscribe, tell a friend, bring a friend next time. Okay, here's the options. I got Cookie CAD filament. I met these guys, husband and wife duo. I don't remember their names, so I apologize. But look at this. Look at this. That's a sexy filament, guys. Look at that. It's a little rainbow action, kind of like pastel-y. They call this sunrise. Okay, or I hate to say it because I want to use the Cookie CAD, but I think this could be the Prusa Anniversary limited edition print. But you know what? For the limited, so if you guys haven't seen this, this is the Anniversary Edition Prusa Mint. And I've been waiting for the reason. Look, Joe even signed it. That's actually Joe's signature right there. Yeah, it's ink. Here, let me give you the zoomy zoom. Top. There's this is also a transition spool. It's hard to see. It's a rainbow as well, but it's kind of like a rainbow sherbet. I don't know how you guys say it, but I kind of want to do the vase at full size. Also of interest, the flange on this guy is like clear. The polycarbonate on one flange of this spool is clear, and I'd never seen that before. I wonder if they did that just so you could see the transition. I only just noticed that. That's interesting. And then here's the cookie CAD. All right, you guys can vote. I will do whichever everybody picks. Okay, so you tell me if you want limited edition Prusa rainbow or you want the cookie CAD sunrise. Those are the choices. Everybody get your vote in right now. Tell me in the chat, what's it going to be? And we'll do a vase. We'll do a vase out of it. John says it should go on a shelf, never to be used. Yeah, you know, that sounds sad though, John. I mean, what's the point of just having a spool of filament on the shelf? First of all, it goes on a rep rack. Everybody knows that. And secondly, it's like, you know, you gotta have a use for it. It's like I ended up holding on. How many of you guys thought I was gonna go get my beef jerky filament and print the vase out of beef jerky? Because I sat on that for quite some time waiting for the perfect thing, and the zombie hand came of that, and I could not be happier for it. So it's like it's just awesome when like the right print meets the right filament, right? I don't know. What are the votes? We got Cookie CAD. Britt says Cookie CAD. Everybody says save the limited edition. Like Ryan to Cookie CAD. Llama says use it. It's like a great art piece. Okay, well, it looks like the cookies have it. And I don't want to sit around forever waiting for you guys. Just put that over there. All right, cookie. Honey. Bet you didn't know you could use a Revo nozzle to open a bag of filament. But you can. Probably not the ideal tool for that. Yeet. I'm gonna eat this. Oh, don't eat it. Okay. That's a cool looking. Those are some nice colors. It also reminds me of like a rainbow sherbet, rainbow sorbet. A sorbet? Sorbet? Hey. All right. Okay. It's good looking filament. All right, throw that up there. And let's see, before we load it, we got to swap the nozzle. Why didn't you guys tell me? Okay. What do we got here? It is 2, so it's a full temp, so I don't want to grab onto that. Hold on. We're going to do I'm going to do my turbo cool. So just did a reset. Flip. Okay, I just did a reset so it's cooling down, and then I like to turn on the fan because I don't want to just wait for it to get to 50 because that's lame. Ain't nobody got time for that. Alright, so we max out our fan speed so we can watch our nozzle temp drop. Alright, we're at 188, 187, 186, 185. So we're losing a degree, a little more than a degree a second. And then we use our magical Poochie asbestos fingers. Too hot, still too hot. 172. Still too hot. I did get it to twist a little. The silicone sock is still on it, but there's not a lot of room to grab. There we go. Now we're going. It says it's 150. When you do this as much as I do, you start to lose the nerve endings in your fingers. So do not try this at home. This is the sign of a truly idiotic person that 3D prints regularly. Hi. Yeah, don't grab. Oh, look at that. That's fun. That's all right. That's all right. Some boogers in there still, but who's excited to get their obsidian? Yes, soon. Believe it or not, I know some of you even pre-ordered from me, and I appreciate that. E3D has still not shipped them. I know that they are working very hard at it. So hard. Any day now, they say it's going to happen. And that they assure me that it's going to go to us resellers before they start shipping directly. Okay, so we're putting our 0.8 nozzle in, and we're in, and we did that, and it's 66 degrees. And now we are ready to run. And here, what we're going to do is we're going to reset this, right, so that it's nicely stacked the way it's supposed to be. And we're going to print from SD and selecting Bob Vase. 444 Bob Vases. And it's starting. It is starting. So theoretically, if we can keep feeding it trays, and we keep taking the trays away, and we can keep giving it filament... Whoop. What did we forget to do? We forgot to load filament. Good Lord. I don't know how people do this in real time and don't look like an idiot the way I always do. Like, one of these days, I'm going to remember to do all the steps. It's going to be amazing. All right. There's my flesh cutters. All right, I'm going to cheat, guys. Who's ever done that technique before? You like that? The old spinaroo? Spin and break. All right, upside down. PLA 215. It says 215. I'm going to double check that I even made sure I sliced it for PLA. I did! I sliced it for Repcord PLA, which runs a little bit hotter, but it's probably in range. It says 205 to 235. I run at 222. Exactly 222. Not more, not less. That's very important. I'll tell you why when you're older. Okay. We're preheating to load the filament, and then we can run the vase. Okay? Everybody settle down. Settle down. So, a couple things. I don't know if you noticed this little tether guy here. Hold on, that's gonna press. It'll load the filament. On the back here, I'm gonna switch over to my top view again, so you can see what I'm talking about. Top only, top down. This is an interesting little device that they put on here to keep the rear loom, the umbilical, I think they call it, clear. It just kind of holds it up and out of the way so that this doesn't potentially interfere with the loading mechanism. So interesting little attention to detail. This is just a little piece of nylon filament. And the way that they tethered, this is FDM printed and this is FDM printed. And they basically just ran it through a hole and melted the end. Like think about it, if you've ever like taken a lighter and melted the end of like some nylon rope just to create kind of that knot. And so they just kind of did a little melty, and then it sits in there, and I thought that was a really clever little solution for that. So, good job, Team Urbanmaker, on that one. All right, look at that. We got filament coming through, and it's extruding with the... I'm going to say no, because I want to purge a little more. I'm not sure why it's black. Oh, there was black in the 0.8 before. All right, so we got a thick ropey 0.8 filament. Doesn't smell like cookies. Doesn't taste like cookies. But let's do like a little bit more, because I feel like there's just lots of goop in that nozzle. And all right. Yeah. There we go. That's good. Noodly. Okay. Now we can print. Yes. Let's see if I can do this upside down. Upside down, right side in, inside out. I don't know what song that is. these newer displays. So some of the Prusas have like kind of a newer display with a better backplate that are a lot easier to read this way. Look at that. Okay. All right, hold on. Clear the tray. Clear the tray. All right, we're starting fresh. It's pulling in its new tray. It's pulling in its new tray. Top view. Okay. It's loading. It's grabbed it. It's looking clean. Getting in here. Okay. It looks square. Okay. See, it did this again. This is a touch kit. I'm curious to know if it's gonna catch or not, but I can tell you right now that it landed and it twisted a touch. Because I can see the corner of the bed loader tray. And I'm not sure why it did that. But I'm going to cheat because I want to see the vase. And I'm just going to nudge it back to where it should be. So this is flush with the front edge. Okay, and then I will talk to Yuri and Andre tomorrow and see what their ideas are for why it might be twisting. Okay, let's see. Yes, professional. Yeah, I know. Incendium 87. It's named Cookie Cad Filament and you're not allowed to eat the desiccant. Nope. Don't eat the desiccant. Don't eat the pasta. Don't eat the Cookie Cad. Don't do any of that. What's happening? It beeped. Well, it didn't beep. No, it just says bed heating. It's okay. It's all right. Everybody calm down. Bob's in the stream. Bad decisions are bound to happen. Let's see. Revo users have removed a nozzle that was a bit too warm. Yeah, it kind of comes with the territory, mostly because we're impatient. We're impatient people. I don't have a yellow... Who's printed their yellow... Tell me in the chat. Have you printed your yellow badge and tagged Abby and the Yellow Tag Initiative yet? Go do your homework. It takes like 19 minutes and they get like $10 a person that does it now or something like that. Okay? Stop being selfish. Go print one of those. Yes, that was the skew you were talking about, Dom. That's exactly right. It's like when it landed, like one side kind of landed first and it pulled the thing just like not even a degree off, but enough where I think it threw one of the hooks too far forward. And when it went to do its leveling sequence, one of them caught. But you know what? They did say that they have a new bolt-on tray or something now that maybe is a little bit more reliable. I don't know. Maybe that fixes that. Could be. I think the good news is that whatever that is probably easily addressable. Maybe they just need to go a little slower or faster. I don't know. Honestly, it seems like it would just shovel under and click, but I can appreciate that there needs to be some finesse to the whole process. But I don't see that being a deal breaker, given all the things that potentially could go wrong with this kind of thing. All right, we're leveling and then we're vasing. Who likes the way I say vase? You into it? Vase. Here we go. Andre says, slight twist to the spring sheet is not a problem in a regular case. What Andre is saying is that I am in an irregular case, which is completely true and understandable. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if it was just nudging forward a little too far. I guess we won't know because I cheated on this one, Andre, but I'll keep an eye on it as we run more. I plan to run a lot more. I think I'm interested in this vase mode. Like I can see some interesting product advantages to doing vase mode on this, because you can't do vase mode on a belt. It's a big print. You can't do sequential. You probably don't want to bulldoze them because they're so fragile potentially. Andre will watch the video frame by frame afterwards to find out what's going on. Science the heck out of it, Andre. I love it. Yeah, accurate. Irregular is being polite. Well, you know, I agree. I think he is being polite. Okay, we're laying down some thick ropey skirt line. If you know what I'm saying. I feel like I'm hitting my stride now. It took me a little bit to get into the stream and, you know, find my mojo. Mostly because I do this at the beginning of the day when I've got the energy for it, and I'm feeling a bit punch drunk after a long day of dealing with day problems. It's looking good though. Let's should give you a little top zoomy. See what we see. It's kind of hard to see the bed. And this is at 40%. I think we're still gonna have enough definition. And honestly, when we go up to a 0.8, it's gonna land more readily on the layer beneath it. Also, this didn't seem like a particularly tapering vase. It was, you know, pretty consistently columnar. Is that a word? Should be a word. Sounds like a word. But it's, given that it's not, you know, like doing that, the more curvature you've got, the more that your layer height and the thickness of the layer obviously is going to have an impact. So I'm going to be really interested to see how this thing cooks. But Cookie Cat vase. What's this vase called besides the Bob vase again? Let's see. It's called the Tetrahex Ripple. Tetrahex Ripple vase. Yeah, I don't know, man. Some of the detail on this just probably isn't going to scale quite right. But, you know, like I said, YOLO. YOLO. Let's see. Dom says he was printing a bunch of vase mode prints for his friend's hydroponic orchids. Very cool. This could be a great application for your hydroponic orchid vase product line, Dom. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Let's see. Yeah, something like 70% of Americans have mental issues. Yeah, mental issues. So being normal is no longer normal. Normal is boring. Okay? Who wants to be normal? Normal is for normies. You put that on a shirt too, Joel. Boy, that's an amazing first layer. That's a great looking. I mean, of course it is. It's on a Prusa. Hashtag not sponsored. Hashtag I wish I was sponsored. I love thick extrusion, and I cannot lie. Thick. I can't wait till they put out the 1.2. I think they're going up to 1.4 with Revo in the high flow, which is going to be nuts. I did get a sneaky of it, and it is a thing of beauty. It's going to be like some ludicrously expensive nozzle, but the fact that you can now take like a high flow nozzle and push 1.4 millimeters or maybe even more. I don't know what they're going up to. I think they have just in standard like a 1.2 up to 1.2 or 1.4, and then maybe the high flows go even thicker. I don't know. But yeah, that's going to be something, because being able to push thick ropey extrusion fast is cool. I love vase mode prints. They're so great. I hate watching them print the base because I just want to watch it spiral. I know it's not my Voron. That's just. Did you guys see that Twitter the other day? I think Joel was retweeted it or whatever, but it was like a speed vase, and it was just like fun to watch. Fun to watch for sure. The future is bright for sure, and like speed printing and stuff like that. What's funny is like I don't get as excited about speed printing because you don't need to go fast when you can go nonstop. I mean, both would be cool, but also, I'm looking at things like what's the maintenance requirements of that. Just because it can go fast, it's like owning a sports car, right? Like, yeah, you can go fast, but then you're going to pay a lot of money to maintain that over time. Like, what's the sweet spot of fast enough but runs nonstop, right? Like, those are the things that get me out of bed. How many bottom layers did we say we were doing here? Let's see. I think I need to print. Photo says we need to print one of his models. We should print one of his models. Actually, this is another great application that would be great for this. So if you're doing miniature or like busts or high detail models, like the more I'm thinking about it, this like taking up the entire shelf and just like letting it unload large detailed prints like Photos Mint busts or vases or things that you just don't want falling on the ground. Did you guys see that Davy Jones that I did of Photoses that was with the 0.15 nozzle? Have you guys seen the 0.15, the pinky pink? It's so little. It's so wee. Look at this. Look at this. You can't even see the not holding it steady. But anyway, the detail that you get on that nozzle. What's interesting about this, guys, is that Photos will tell you, like I was doing macros of it. It's not quite resin quality, but it's dang close. And to not have to deal with the post-processing and the toxicity of resin and all that stuff, like, yes, it's slower, but I'm way more comfortable like letting one of my machines just run for a couple days or whatever and not have to worry about dealing with spent resin and IPA washing and all that stuff. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but it was kind of cool that you could get such good detail with FDM. And historically, I had not had good luck printing with like tiny nozzles. But they've got some good pointers. I mean, definitely the material that you use, the temperatures, and all that stuff. And obviously having a tuned profile for it makes all the difference. Are they CR30 levels of expensive or what? Bob, hold on, I gotta scroll back. Are what CR30 Revo levels of expensive? The high flow? I think you're talking... Are you talking about the ones that I had custom machined for the CR30? Because those are expensive, yes. Let's see. Shame on me for not printing a Photos model. Good tool, just has to find its niche. Yeah. Yeah. 1.4 nozzles. I don't know. Those, like, if we're talking about the high flow, like, I'm sure the high flow are going to be more expensive. There's definitely more specialized machining. For those of you familiar with the CHT nozzles, it's similar, kind of tech where it's trying to maximize the amount of surface area on the melt zone so that you can basically push filament faster in the same volume. But it requires some very specialized equipment, obviously, to do that. So I'm sure it's going to be more expensive. It's probably not going to be like the level of expense of my custom machine stuff, but that's because I'm paying like California machinist rates to take something that's already been made and then machine it down. It would be way cheaper, obviously, and it will be. E3D tells me they're working on belt nozzles for Revo. So, I just did it because I'm obsessed with the belt printing and stuff now, and I have a buddy that's a machinist, but yeah, it's not going to be for everybody. Okay, so that's 3 layers. I hope that's enough. I don't want to do more. I want to do some vase walls, man. Show me the vase walls. Where is it? When did I slice it? What's the slice settings? 3 bottom layers. Okay, so this should start doing the Vase now. Vase. Evasive maneuvers. No, Incendium 87, they're modified from a stock Revo. They are turned down from a stock Revo. And my buddy at NorCal Machine Works, James, did them. He's a brilliant machinist, and we came up with a great mechanism for. He put an M6 hex on it, so they're the same as the standard one. So you can use the standard wrench to remove them. Like, you obviously lose the finger removal, but you can still, use the provided wrench or an M6, and then we created a little pattern similar to the original V6s where they had that dimple on the side to indicate which nozzle size was which. We just kind of hit the end mill in a clocking pattern depending on where on the clock face depends on the size of the nozzle we were dealing with and stuff. So we at least had some kind of visual indicator since we can't use the silicone sock anymore on it. Okay, well it's a little droopy looking. But yeah, you can't really tell from either of these angles. Not a great camera angle on the printer. Next time, guys, I'll get a close-up cam that I can put down here. I was gonna say that's actually. I was thinking about trying to take the one down from the ceiling so I could move it closer. You should find a magnetic mount or something that I could move it around. I'll come up with a better hub setup so I can maybe have a close-up printer or close-up camera for the next one. Yeah, the machining is awesome on those. It's really cool. I think Mike Fancy, the Never Let the Machines Win guy, he bought a set from me. I don't have them listed yet. Because I only had 5 sets made. They were really only meant for internal use while we were testing, but he wanted them so badly, and I said, well, you're basically paying for the R&D cost, because until I can figure out if there's enough demand for them to make them in volume, they're, the machining on them was 60 something bucks a piece, and that's not including the cost of the Revo to begin with. So yeah, they were expensive nozzles. Have I toyed with any of the 90-degree belt printers? No, but I want to. I think you're talking about the Caribou one. The tricky. He knows it's tricky. CRS1. Chris is saying the 90-degree belt printer. So basically, printing in normal Cartesian with the Y being a belt. And MakerBot has a patent on that historically. A lot of debate, as I understand it, around whether that patent is actually enforceable at this point. You talk to Bill Steele about that, who has studied it quite a bit, knows a lot about patents. His contention is that it's a null and void patent anyway. The CR30 kind of came and went, and there was a lot of eyebrows raised about whether or not there was going to be any lawsuits as a result of that. Nothing happened there. I don't know. I'm not a patent lawyer. I do know that, is it Zarabo or Caribou? I can't keep track of which is which. Is doing a belt, a 90-degree belt printer, and I've seen projects that are DIY that have a variable angle as well. Llama, I don't know, but there are these 3D printer things called CAD software where you could design and make that magnet mount you wanted. Not sure if you've heard of those things. I haven't, because I have people that do those types of things for me when I beg them to. Yeah, also for normies, doing your own CAD work. It's working. Here, let's see if we can do this without losing the... Oh, don't look at my... Ah, shoot. Yeah, that didn't work. Don't look at my belly. All don't know if this will come back or not. I just unplugged it. I mean, we've lost the top feed. Oh, it's back. So I guess we can. All right. Dizzy. All right. Just everybody calm down, okay? I'm sorry. You have to see my stomach. We are unscrewing it. Okay. There we go. There we go. All right. But you guys want to see, right? There it is. Look at it. Look at the cookie CAD. It's very pretty. Why am I whispering? I can see all the behind the scenes stuff too. Okay, there we go. Sure. Maybe I can just mount it like right at the end here, like it was its own. I feel like it might be better from. Here we go. Let's use our S box to our advantage. Okay, that was fun little adventure, huh? There you go. See all my weird stuff in the background, my key rack and the old wired house phone on the VoIP system. That's fun. I'm gonna slide this. I'm just gonna that goes over there. I'm gonna slide this way and hopefully not screw things up. Because I'm gonna see through the 444 vases. Okay, I'm dedicated. You know, guys. You know, I'm committed to the cause. Yes, I have seen Paul's work. I've seen Print Shift, and I have not gotten to play with it. If I had more time and energy and whatnot, I would love to mod a mini to do the Print Shift setup because I think it's just a brilliant little design. I love just the work that people are doing around some of these automation systems. There's a really clever like lever arm removal system that I came across the other day that I hadn't seen before that basically uses and if somebody's heard of this and knows, like, post a link or shout at me what it is and I'll find the link. But basically it runs there's a lever arm on this side of the Prusa. It's for a Prusa. And it's think of like a toll gate arm. I bumped the thing here. There we go. Anyway, it sits here, and when the print finishes, again, it's a passive system, so it's using only the pulleys and stuff. It runs the print head all the way to the top of the Z, and that catches in a carriage that is connected to a big like gear and pulley system, so that when it comes to the top and it nestles in it, and then it moves it over to all the way to the right or left, I don't remember, it basically pulls this gear pulley system, drops this little gate arm down, and then runs the Y bed back and uses that arm, so like it drops the thing down and it pins it on the far side, so it locks in place. So it's basically throwing a big shovel plow down, and then it goes and it pulls it and lets the bed cool and stuff to do that, but it kind of creates this springing things in it, like it would rifle parts like almost off the end of it. But it was super clever because it was basically using the head to actuate this knife arm that drops down and acts as that shovel to eject the part. Really clever technique, and there's a lot of stuff like that out there. Let's see. John says he thinks I'm going to run out of filament before I get to 444 vases. John, I have a lot of filament, my friend. I if I really wanted to, and I kept reloading and stuff like that, then yes. If you mean this single spool, though, yeah, you're probably right. Here, let's get some stats for you. The stats say on the print that we're doing that it is it uses 42 grams. Let's call it 50 grams for round numbers. So that means you could get basically, what's that, 20, right? Let's see, 50, 100, 2, you get 2 for 100 grams times 10 for 1,000. So yeah, you could get 20 of these vases out of one, and then a little bit more because it's 40, not 50, 42. So there's some maths for you. All right. Bigger question is, what am I going to do with 444 vases? Whatever I want, Bob. I'm going to sell them, right? I'm going to make a empire of vases. This is a pretty cool print. I mean, I can't only imagine what this thing looks like at full size. I'm going to have to do a full sizer. It's kind of like looks like gray matter waviness. That's wild. This is doing better than I thought. It's I can definitely see some holes. Porous but pretty. But not. You kind of have to look at it from inside. You can't see the holes in the face, but it would not hold water. I'll tell you that right now. Sith Lord Brit has changed her icon, her avatar, or is on a completely different account apparently. Brit, did you decide that now was the time to change your avatar, or did you sign on to a different account? Well, I don't know. Did I do a decent job of doing an overview on this whole thing? I mean, what do you guys think? Would you buy one? Would you consider funding the Kickstarter if it was $250? Honestly, tell me. I think I would. I think I'd pick up a couple units. I can definitely see I can see some advantages. I can see some certain products that we could run this on that would be advantageous. I don't like that it takes up as much space as it does comparatively, because space is very much at a premium where I am. But I see a lot of potential. Yeah, I mean, it can definitely do stuff that we can't currently do. And I think if I spent a little bit more time thinking about it, like what tool in the toolbox is it? Now it's interesting. At $250, you're looking at like a quarter of the cost of a fully assembled Prusa. But you can load trays and stuff. Yeah, I mean, if the reliability, after I play with it a bit more and understand it a little bit better, if the reliability is to the point where I can trust it to run and work and not destroy my printers, I do like that. I don't like having to mod firmware or mod the printer itself. So the only mod I had to make to this was the moving of the display, which is really not a big deal. It's 4 screws. You bolt it onto their printed piece and you like slide it into the little extrusion notch, and that's it. You're not bolting anything else new to it. You've got the little tether to keep the thing out of the way. I think on our new TTXL, I could get the footprint to sit on one of our large turntable things, so we could basically put a 5 kilo under it, keep it fed with filament a lot longer. So the footprint. So the end to end, I said earlier, was 3 feet, but the points that are touching, that are critical, and I mean this is probably even, that could probably be modified, but it's 25 inches, 26 inches maybe from where the front foot here is to the back feet. So we can put that on top of a turntable box. That's only 2 inches over the edge of the shelves, so it might be possible to pull the rack forward a touch and put a catch bin. Sorry. Keep moving It's really not the best lighting for that. I should do it from the other side so I stop bumping it, huh? If I knew a thing about camera position. Oh, look at that. That's much better. Jeez. What an amateur I am. What an amateur this guy is, right? There we go. Put that over there. Very good explanation and demonstration. Well, that's nice of you to say. That's nice of you to say. Solid idea. Don't print the volume that will require plates like this. That's honest. Don't think it's the tool for me, says Bob. But I don't need continuous printing, or I don't have the offload space. I get that. Oh, wow. Britt, I got to call you out because I just noticed these things, Britt. Somebody's got to keep you honest. Just updated all of her socials for a rebrand. Well, congrats on the rebrand. I look forward to seeing your rebrand. Mitch, did you just get here? You missed the whole thing, buddy. You're going to have to watch it back. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I like it. I really enjoyed putting it together. I really appreciated the attention to detail that they had. The kit is stupid simple to put together. It doesn't involve a lot of manipulation. I think a lot of the cost is associated with the print beds. Like they're making their own print beds. If they, maybe something to consider if people are already invested in the spring steel that Prusa has. Maybe a less expensive option that just gives you the spikes and allows you to use the beds you already have. They might be able to get more people into it that way, because then you're really just talking about some extrusion and some hardware and a couple printed parts. Obviously, the cost of some of the sintered nylon pieces that I'm assuming they are sending away for. Maybe they have a machine that does sintered nylon. I don't know. If they're doing it all in-house, that's great. But the quality is fantastic. It's what you would expect of traditional German engineering, I would say. The attention to detail is pretty clever. You don't see it, and I'm not going to take it apart right now, but there's like a little piece of PTFE tubing that's like on the ends of these little flaps that just kind of allow the magazine to load smoothly and index into place. And I thought that was clever, and the magnets and all that stuff too. And obviously, we don't realize it, but like the importance of the magnets to hold things in place and index things properly. Like there's a lot of little subtle details that had to go into getting this thing to work reliably and repeatedly. And obviously, it still probably has a couple things that need tweaking, but I think they're, for the most part, there. I'll only know once I've really been hammering on it even more. But I don't know. I think this could be a good place to call it. I'll post a photo of the Bob Vase tomorrow. maybe one or two. I'll let it run overnight, and we'll see how many vases we get, and I'll post photos of those in the morning for your enjoyment. But yeah. Oh, hey, Chris. Someone here had Tricos. I had tacos for dinner. They were all normal two-sided tacos, not three-sided tacos, though, so no Tricos for me. But, the Trico holder that I designed up for your birthday years and years ago, 2 years, 3 years ago, I don't know how long ago it was, might be a good print for this. That might be a good use case if you had something. Maybe you like to print large ashtrays or planters. I really see big fragile pieces that you don't want just dropping into a bucket, falling off, more ornate stuff, busts. I mean, you can certainly use it for little things as well. Like I said, if you're doing like these, like the yellow tags, Abbey Mass yellow tags, yellow ribbon, and you had a tray full of these, and you just keep kicking them out and they fall in. It doesn't matter if they pop off into the bucket. So, in that regard, like, you can crank those out more repeatedly it's basically, like I said, minimizing the amount of touch time that you've got on it. I'd still probably rather do something like that on the belt because I don't have to touch it at all. I just have to keep filament loaded. And really, I think the next step, or one of the things that they need to look at here, is integrating it with like the continuous print plugin for Octoprint. So that instead of using their little Muxer, now you've got like basically a real-time print spooler. I don't think that would take much work at all because that already has the capacity to run custom load and unload. We use it for the belts to do our load and unload scripts, and basically you could I think you could probably do let me think you could do continuous print plugin through Octoprint without changing anything else. So you would have to add a pie, and you would do the start stop script for the load and unload of the tray. But that would allow you a real-time queue that you could change on the fly, so you could change vases and not be limited by the SD card side. You would be going over serial, but that's so well tested at this point, and it already exists. I hope they do that, honestly. That would be nice, because then I can just Wi-Fi straight over to the Pi, kick it down there, and don't have to worry about loading stuff to the SD card. I think that would offer a lot of advantage. I'll bring it up to Andre when I talk to him tomorrow. I don't know. Have you guys used the continuous print plugin? Thanks, Chris. Yes, I will. This was unfortunately a last minute setup because it's a new setup for me, and the lav setup I lost the receiver too, so I need a new lav mic, but I will do that, and I appreciate that feedback, and I appreciate you bearing with me as I'm trying to walk around and talk into the mic. Being an Italian and waving my arms and moving around and changing my pitch and volume is just what I do. Yes, I hope Andre is getting some rest now too. John Keller said, yep, I'm assuming he's replying to the continuous print plugin. Yeah, we could set this up on MakerDeck. That's not a problem. I know. I've yet to do MakerDeck. I should do that. We'll do that. It's a good idea. Yeah. That's a great idea, Chris, because then we can actually have... I think what I'd like to do, and I can feed it to MakerDeck, that's not a problem, probably do my own rail thing. So maybe I'll just leave it here. I'll put my time-lapse camera on it. I'll set up the ceiling cam, maybe shining down on the whole thing and as the webcam, and just feed that to MakerDeck for a bit, and we can watch it do a couple hundred vases. What I'm now affectionately calling the Bob Vase cookie cod Bob Vase. Yeah, we could do belt printers. We could do all that stuff. I know, Liz. I'm sorry. I know you've asked me to do Maker Deck before too, and I haven't. Mostly because I just haven't taken the time to like set aside space, and unfortunately, like this is where my kitchen table normally goes. So it's all gonna have to go back for when my kids are here this weekend. But I'll figure it out. We'll come up with a better space for it. I wanted to put it in the shop with the rest of the printers, but it's kind of disruptive to the process right now to try to find the space to do that and be able to live stream. So I just figured kitchen was a good bet for right now. But I appreciate, again, the patience with me and the stream setup and all that stuff. For the most part, I think it worked out. So, all right. I'm going to wrap it here, guys. Thank you so much for being in the chat and following along and being my guinea pig for this setup. I learned a thing or two. I'm just kind of like wheels are turning on ideas and stuff for this now and improvements and all that stuff. I mean, I think it's a cool idea, and like I said, I hope Urbanmaker is able to make a good run of it, and I can see for the right people. I'd be curious to get like the opinion of somebody like a Luke from Out of Darts or somebody that's running regular print stuff and thinking about understanding if this would fit into their workflow at all. It's not typically the type of parts that we do, but it's not to say that it couldn't work. I just don't think it's like the primary use case, but it's also hard to say because I haven't had this tool available to me before. So that's what's kind of processing for me right now. But anyway, like I said, thanks so much. I'll follow up on Twitter. You guys can kind of see some of the results of what happens overnight. I'm going to load a couple more of these into the hopper. And we're going to call it a night. All right? All right. Grubby Zebra. Just seeing people just jump on right here as we're leaving. But thank you guys for joining. Catch me again, hopefully, for one of these soon. I think what I'd like to do maybe for one of the next ones is maybe show off kind of our latest iteration of all the improvements we've done to the belt and talk about the belt automation that we use and maybe how that compares. If you guys have other requests for things that might be interesting to stream in the realm of tools for business and automation and systems and support of 3D printing, please let me know. Check me out on the Twitter. And if you're not already, subscribe, like, share, do all those things. Love you guys. I will catch you very soon. Everyone have a great night.